Oh, good. Now the wind is gonna blow. It wasn't blowing when I decided to come out here. All right. So the plan is, it's not blowing very hard. So I've got a switch for the electric mirrors and a switch for the power door locks and power windows and a window regulator. All right. So, all right, I think we're ready. See how this looks. To all my peeps at the VMF, yo, how y'all doing? Got my hat. Old style door trim. You took apart by popping it out. This is a little bit different setup. One there. 7mm apparently. This may not be a step-by-step. We'll see how it turns out. What I remember from last time is there was a part broken. So whoever did this before I got to this truck managed to break something. This piece I think is just going to slide off. There we go. There's the other one. The nice thing is I'll be able to replace these switches without taking the whole thing apart. And this one is also 7mm. This truck was made in Canada, so there's the broken part. This was part of, yeah, this part slots into a matching hole in the door. So this got broken off, so odds are the last person to attempt this didn't take the time to find this and just broke it off. So, let's see. Just grab the door handle and lift it up. Oh, took this off? That just pulls off, I think, too. This is held on with metal spring clips, and the bottom end is a push-in slotted tang, I guess. It'll kind of go down and then snap in. You can probably grab that with your fingers and pull off. I just got a blister on my finger, so I wasn't able to pull it where I wanted it. So now I just grab the door handle and lift it. Now to save on mangling these wires, before we lift it off, let's get these wires disconnected. Some rummaging later, I'm looking for a average looking straight slot. This will do. Just saves your thumbs if you can push the tab in with something other than your fingernail. Push in to release on the tab. So the one for the mirror, you got to reach underneath and push it to release it. The other window ones, there's a lever that you push in, squeeze in to release. And then we'll put this aside. Got a couple of torque screws here, and then this this is for these three switches. That's one assembly. And this one looks like it might just be a friction fit or a snap fit. Yeah, it's got locking tabs here. So if we get in behind here, and that'll just lift right out there. So just kind of slide your thin screwdriver between here. These are made for easy assembly, not for reassembly. Meaning the guys in the factory have it easy, the rest of us have to work it a little bit harder. But this has never really worked right. My power windows have never worked on this truck. And I suspect based on how much dirt and crap is in here, this is probably the problem. Fuses were already okay, I checked those earlier. So this switch is made by TRW, assembled in Mexico. This one says Alps, Mexico. I don't know if it's the same company, but Alps also made computer input devices like touchpads for laptops and stuff like that. Not that any of that really matters. Alright, wires, tuck them back inside so we don't rip them off. And then as you pull it off, be looking for anything else connected. Such as up here I've got these power seat switches. Probably not getting the best view up here. Anyway, this would be one of those places where if you had an assistant, they could hold the door while you disconnected the wires, because you can't necessarily see them all until you start ripping them apart. And then you're sitting there trying to hold the door. The nice thing about this setup though is there's hooks part of the door design, and if you're paying attention you can kind of rest the door on those hooks as you come apart, so you don't necessarily have to hold it the whole time. Okay, door is off, so I had one wire here that goes up here, and then there's a light. This also has never worked. This light down here has a wire, which is this one. And then what I was talking about for what holds this together, these white plastic, and one black, two black, and these white ones. I like this a lot better than the old design. So as you go together, you just tab each of these plastics into a spot, and the door just sits there. And by the weight of the door, it drops down, and then you had the screw underneath the handle, and then the other one that was broken off, that keeps the door from lifting up. So then it doesn't go anywhere. Pretty slick. The way that the regulator works, we've got two, and probably this is the third one here. These bolts hold the track in place. And then on here, here's your motor, bolt, probably this bolt, and this bolt. Usually on an assembly, the hardware will be similar, right? Not necessarily, but if you take out all the bolts that look the same, you're probably going the right direction. Alright. We also got one here and one here that I don't think we have to take apart. So I'm going to hope that we don't. That's probably the upper part of the track or something. So we'll start with what we see. There is also a bolt inside here and a bolt here. That might be part of the track also. A few years back they made a big deal about, ooh, now we've got side impact beams. Here it is. Really not that substantial looking. Not like you think it would be. But there's one more piece of metal between you and the outside. Such as it is. Me riding a motorcycle, yeah, it's better than what I got. So. Okay, I'm going to disconnect the wiring from the motor next. And it's also just kind of look at it. There's usually a tab you push in to release. And then disconnect it. They aren't necessarily hard. Sometimes you can be a little bit fiddly. And if you have any trouble, a straight screwdriver makes it easier. So you can have something harder pushing the tab in to unlock it. Instead of your fingernail. And try not to stab yourself in the finger. Because blood is corrosive. That's a nice waterproof design. That little gasket on the connector there. What I like to do on something like this, one, I'll get some close-up shots of what I'm working on so that if I get distracted and I can come back later, I know where everything went. A lot of times your connectors will make sense in some way. So these are the two for the power windows, or windows and locks. This one was for the mirror control. This one I think is actually for the speaker, if I remember right. I didn't even hook it back up. And this is the one that goes to the door for the heated seats and memory controller. And the one down here was for the light. Alright. And this is the one that we just took off the motor. That's the only one that's a waterproof connector. Okay. And what I talked about before, here, maybe here, and here are the bolts on the front part of the window slide. This one, this one, this one are the back ones. This one I don't think we take off because that's probably part of, that might be what holds the window to, I'll come back to that. But there was this one and also one here that we're probably not going to take apart. And this wire, it goes up to the power mirror on the outside, right there. Okay. This is the actuator for your lock on your handle, your manual lock that goes back through the slides to push the selector inside to unlock your door. We won't be messing with that probably, but that's where it is. Only be aware of that because when you put the door back together, that has to hit inside the handle or else you're not going to be able to unlock the door. Kind of a good thing to have. This is the window regulator as it came to me in a bag inside the box. Jobs, if you're not really sure, a lot of times if you just take a minute to look at it, you can kind of figure it out. So for instance, if we compare what we just saw over there to this, this is about how it's going to be. There's your motor. The details a little different. On the original, the connector was part of the motor. But they always go in and across like this. So if you kind of look, 1, 2, 3, and then probably 1, 2, 3, that matches the 3 that we saw. This one is a squeeze that holds the glass in. Alright, so what we'll end up doing is we'll loosen that up so that we can set the glass into this U channel, and then once we get it in place, then we can tighten the glass down. And these are driven by a simple cable that runs through this pulley inside the motor. So the motor turns, the cable turns, kind of like on a sailboat, how you get your sails up and down. You have a cable that runs around a couple times around this pulley. It's got tension on it. And so as the pulley turns, it just drags the cable up or down. The cable is attached to these sliders, and that just pushes it up or down. It's about as simple as it gets. Now, probably what happened on mine, I'll know better when I get it apart, but what likely happened is I was parked on a hill. I remember what happened. I was parked on a nose up on a hill, went to roll the window up, and the weight wasn't straight down then on the window, and so it popped off of something. It might be something as simple as it just slid out of these holders. Alright, but I've got all the new parts now, so I'm going to change them, and then whatever's left of the old one, I can use it for robot parts or something later. So from what I've seen, now that I understand what holds the glass in on this one, I know that I can loosen these up on the one on the truck and then slide the assembly down. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to grab a Sharpie and I'm going to mark the parts that are on the truck now so that I can kind of get them orientated in case I get confused when I take it out. Then I can lay them next to this one and have a good working reference. So it's always a good idea. If you got, a lot of mechanics will have a Sharpie or something, you know, chalk even. The old mechanics would have chalk so you can erase it when you're done. First day of spring, it's about, well, inside the bus it showed 80. It's probably at least 70, 75 out here. So I'm going to say aft. And I do an arrow facing up. And forward, which this one is kind of hidden, so I'm going to just put an F on there. That's about as far as I can get. And do another up. And I know the motor is forward. Okay. So that's going to give me a chance when I get this thing out of here, because the way this is, you can see how small this hole is. So you got to disconnect these things and then kind of rotate it around a few times to get it in the right position. Now, at the moment, my glass is taped up. I'm going to leave that because that'll kind of give me a free hand, and hopefully it's enough to hold the glass in place. I use Gorilla Tape. It's been keeping the glass from falling down thus far, except for the about a ½ inch air gap that's there. When I worked in a shop, we had big suction cups that were perfect for this. They were actually made for handling glass. So you'd put the suction cup on the outside and it would give it something to grip, and then if the window came down, it would just kind of rest on the suction cup. Those actually worked out really nice. I do not have those. Now, yeah, I can see the window here. So the window is resting right on these screws that we were talking about earlier. That's the clamps that hold it in place. So I think that's the thing. I'm going to loosen these up first so I don't forget. And then we'll disconnect the 3 bolts on the front and the back that hold the track in, the regulator. We'll go from there. I'm going to take my watch off because I'm going to be reaching inside and I always get stuck on something. The other thing, in this case they're dirty so you wouldn't get them confused, but the fact that I wrote on these, I'll remember that one, I had to be able to see them to write on it, so I know that those were visible. And 2, the fact that they have writing on them means they're the middle ones, because the new ones don't have writing on them. Later on I might transfer the marks onto the new ones so I can get them in the same place. These are going to be 10mm. Looks like that one is too, so that makes it easy. Because it's a metric truck. Now this one is the one that holds the glass in, so we don't have to take it all the way out, we're just taking the pressure off. And that's really the only one I had a hard time getting to. So. Leave it like that for now. Other ones I can get on. Looking on the new part to see where the bolt holes are going to be. Get them all broke loose first. Another thing I just noticed here and here are little tabs. That would make that a lot easier to put together. Yeah, those are on the new one too, so that's good to know. That'll make it a lot easier to reach up and find these tabs, hook them in the holes. That'll hold it. Then I can get things in place and then line up the screws, the bolts. Good. All right. Now, take these out, and what I want to do is kind of lay them in a pattern, someplace that I hopefully won't kick them. So when I put this back together, I can get the same one in the same spot. And I'm kind of comparing them as I take them out to what's next to them. So I know if I have one that's really long or really short. And I'm going to leave the top 2 in place just in case the glass decides to fall. I should hopefully figure that out before I drop it, because it does no good to replace the regulator if you break the glass. Now it shouldn't fall because right now they're still on the 2 hooks. I don't trust that very much. Okay, so far all 4 are the same length. Now I'm going to grab the glass and wiggle it just to see if it's going to move. And the easiest way, you grab one hand inside and outside. tape is holding it pretty good. Let's hope that continues to be the case. Right. Start a new clip so if we break the glass we don't miss it. My finger is bugging me, so I'm going to wear the glove, and since we're working with glass, I'm going to put the safety glasses on. I'm not going to put my prescription ones on because frankly the bifocals aren't my best friend working on stuff like this. So. In case I get unlucky and I explode the glass, this might help. Also, I actually like the idea of wearing a hat. Not everybody does. But if I think I'm going to have glass showering down on me, if you duck your head, sometimes that helps. Plus, the hat and the safety glasses together kind of protect your face a little bit more. Alright, back bolt, top. Wearing the gloves partially to help my finger with the blister. And if I reach up and grab something that's sharp, maybe this will help. So far it's not dropping, it's on the hook, which is a nice idea. I'm really hoping that the window stays up where it's at. That would be wonderful. Let's see. Eyes are watering, I think I'm getting pollen or something. The dust is blowing. So what I'm looking at is, what I'm going to have to do, I'll lift up, get off the hook, and then drop it down slowly, and keep an eye on the window and hope it doesn't decide to fall. Just go from there. So lift up, push it in, disengage, come down. Window's not moving, we're clear. That's good. Now, wait for a minute for my eyes to clear again. Okay, so that one, the track is completely disengaged from the window. Let's do the same thing on the front now. And I can see that the window is moving independently, so that's good. Oops, lean against the power seat. Alright, drop the track down. This is kind of a fine art, and you'll learn it on your own. That's all I'm going to say, but it's just kind of like getting things in the right position. You really can't see exactly what you're doing, but you realize that things are flexible. And this is also why we marked everything before we took it apart. So you just kind of pull one end down. And I've never done this truck or one like it, right? But I did a few Caravans. They have kind of a similar setup. And I also did my Porsche, but I don't really remember that one very much. I was traumatized just because I was taking my Porsche apart. But there we go. Okay, so this is the old one. And it sits in here just like that. Alright. Now, first look, I don't see that it dropped off the track, which is what I would have expected. So it's good. At least that I can see. But these things just kind of wear out over time, so it might have grooves cut in it that I don't see or something. It may have slipped where the glass is gripped, and then that was enough to put it out of place. I don't know. I was hoping to find something obviously broken, just so I know what was broken. Anyway, I'm hoping this ends up being really good robot parts for later, for something. The replacement uses a standoff. Get the camera around and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. On this bolt here, when it was assembled, this was screwed down. Like like so. All right, this was all included. So what they've got is there's a bolt from the back side, right here. That screws into this shaft here, and then there's a bolt from the front side. Yes, the tool that was just in my hand a moment ago. So what we're going to do is take this one off, and the other two, the other 5 really, they assumed you would use the bolts you already had, but this is different, probably a different length. So what we're going to do is make sure this is on there nice and tight, so that hopefully in the future when this gets put back together, the next guy that takes it apart doesn't have to mess with it. Because what will happen is you'll be trying to take it apart and it'll be spinning on the inside. So I'll try to get that nice and snug. Oh, not too snug because that's plastic. Don't overdo that. Oops, that was close. Alright, moving on. This is the one that'll go into here, which is the middle one of the front. Alright. Also, the Gorilla Tape is holding wonderfully. The window has not fallen. Very happy about that. Now we're going to try to not drop this in the dirt. It just seems like a good idea. The little one we took out is going to go in the middle, which is going to be this one here. That's a slotted hole that lets you line it up a little bit. Tool at the way. Oh, one last thing. I'm sure more than one last thing. We're going to open up the window clamps. These are the things that just hold, grip the glass. Break them loose, and then we can do it. I want to leave them nice and open so that they don't jam me up. We're putting it together. Don't need to back it off all the way. Ah! Out of the dirt, out of the dirt. Ooh, that was close. Yeah, that could work on my workbench probably. But, you know. Okay, motors on the front. Like so. Alright. Now, one thing to keep in mind, this is way down low compared to where the glass is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this thing assembled, hook up the switches, see if it works, hopefully it does, and then slowly run it up until it comes in contact with the window, and make sure they're both aligning correctly, and then we go from there. So I'm going to do it like this. The back one, I'll let it fall down and leave it there. Put the front one down. We go in flat horizontal because that's how big the hole is, and then we rotate forward one this way. And reach in through the hole. And remember there was a hook. So we're going to line it up, find the hole. More than likely I'm tangled up on something. So some finagling will be required. Okay, there's the hook. Right on. That part went well. The back one on the hook. There's my bolt. There's the hook. I swear this is the first time I've done this. Of course it doesn't work yet either. On the hook. Nice. That part was less traumatic than I would have expected. We're not done yet though. Okay, so that I don't forget, I'm going to take the bolt that they gave me, and I'm going to put it in first, and I'm going to just finger tight. Okay, now we're off the hook again. That's expected. So we'll just kind of get it started. Get ourselves on the hook again. Get a bolt into that one to keep it in place. And I'm not going to tighten these up yet, because we may have to move this thing around a little bit to get it to engage the window. So we'll leave ourselves some slack for that. But we'll run them down kind of finger tight. And we're still not on the hook. It fell off a couple times. The hook isn't very big. Alright, that. And then we'll do the bottom one. If you're doing this for money, you'd probably use some power tools just to speed it up. But some of these, it's kind of nice to just take it slow and get a feel for how things go together. You'll be cranking it down too hard. Get it all lined up. Of course, it's probably not going to quite line up. That's just the nature of the way these things go. Chance the truck is a little bit bent, or the guys that made this have never driven a car before, or, you know, all kinds of things can happen. That's actually why we leave it a little bit loose too, so we can move things around a little bit. Like for instance, the top one I had didn't have much tension on it, but it was just in the wrong spot. So by loosening this one again, which I just finger tightened, I loosened it, then I could move it around. Okay, so that's why you don't just go cranking things down, because you get the first one on, very likely you will not get the next one on. It just won't line up. Okay, so now it's there. And the middle hole here has got a pretty long slot, and this hole is right to the bottom of it. So that gives you, you know, if this was a Toyota, they probably wouldn't have a slot because their accuracy is really good. I don't think I've ever owned a Toyota, but they are legendary for getting their parts very good tolerances. So, just saying. Let's see. Oh, that's one thing to look for. And then is get the track behind the window, and it needs to be inside of the window. So we'll get that repositioned. I know where the hook is, so let's get the top bolt started. And don't be too upset if you got to do it a couple times. You know, unless you're actually in front of a customer trying to make $1. Just take your time. Expect that it won't go very well, and then you'll be happily surprised when it does. How's that for optimism? Started. That's going quite well. I set the bar pretty low. And again, I'm not going to tighten these down. I'm just making contact to hold everything in place. Like this. One of my extensions have knurling on them, makes it just easier to turn, and it's easier to turn like a screwdriver, right? That's the only thing in there. Alright, now I'm going to take the new switch assembly. I'm pondering. Oh, I see one thing already. I'm wondering if I would be able to assemble the switch, connect it to the connector, fish it up. I think I can. I'm going to go with that assumption. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm putting the new switches, I'll do that on camera, I suppose. And yeah, I know we're right in the shadow. I'm going to throw the screwdriver in the dirt just to make it look good. Let's try it like that. Alright, it this way. Off camera, I managed to get the first one out by myself. 2 screws, looks like all that holds the switch into the... Oh, that's why this thing was so easy to get apart. It's probably, possibly broken, maybe not. Okay, so this is the old one. I am definitely going to take this apart later and see if I can't tweak it or rebuild it or something. Just for, because. Alright, old one. Something fell. Hopefully you don't need it. Oh, how neat. They got little spacer washers underneath that. Let's see if I can find the other one that fell. It's an interesting detail. One of the pitfalls of working in the desert in the sand. If it hits the ground, you probably have lost it. Okay, new one. I think there's only one way to do that. Okay. The front edge has a locating pin and a slot that matches this. So you just line it up, set it in place. I'm going to go ahead and put those spacers on that I haven't lost yet. 3 out of 4 is probably worthwhile. I wonder if that's just to keep you from over tightening it. Possibly. Like so. Line up the holes, put the screws back in. And we're golden. Now what I'm hoping is when I put this thing back together, it'll magically just work. And I'll be just as amazed as you are. Again, plastic parts, do not crank them down too tight. Yep, not a bad copy. Good. Oh, mirror switch is this one. And this just snapped in place. No screws. Just like that. Cool. So what I'm going to do, I'll bring you along for the ride here. Because I did not carefully look at this. I don't remember which one was which, but if this would fit here, if we just look at how the wire is shaped, it's very likely that the gray one goes front. Now, knowing how they build these things, there's going to be an indexing pin or something that keeps you from putting it together wrong, and there is. There's a little slot here that faces this little slot here. On the switch, there's a slot and a slot. So you just push it in until it clicks, and you cannot put that together wrong, which is beautiful. I really appreciate that kind of thinking. Same thing here, index slot and a lock, so you know which way it goes. You just take a second to look at it. They're usually pretty easy to figure out. This guy, this one was something. Okay, this wire that's hanging, there's another speaker that's not on the truck. That's what it was, because there's a wire down underneath that goes to the big speaker. And I think I took the little speaker off, I don't remember. Anyway, so that's for the other speaker. So, what I'm going to do, find the keys. Yay, found the keys. Alright. Stick my head in, make sure we're not going to drive away on ourselves here. Key is on. Good, okay. Turn the radio off. Turn the dome light off so we don't run everything dead. Now, what I'm looking at driver window. So I'm gonna, okay, we gotta first hook up the last wire here. So we'll arm, we'll arm this. Hopefully not chop myself off. Okay, window should work. And that'll be this one. So with the key on, I'm gonna go down first. Oh yeah, it works. Cool. Alright, I'm gonna reset the camera here. Sometimes I'm just a hack, sometimes I get lucky. But anyway, if anything, maybe this will tell you that possibly you could do this too, and if not, at least you'll understand what's involved if somebody else does it for you. Alright, so what I'm looking at, how can I do this? I don't kick it over. Alright, so what we're doing right now, getting myself set up out of the way, hopefully out of my own shadow. Okay, that'll work. So if we watch this part right here, and if I hit the switch, I'm going to go up a little bit. Alright, and the one in the front is also moving at the same time, which is good. So what I'm going to do is just run it up now to, okay, we'll just do it this way. What I'm looking for is right here. Yeah, I'm just having a hard time seeing the viewfinder at the same time. So, I'm going to slowly bump it up. I wish I could do this half speed, but I can't. Touching the window, touching the window. Now, finger not on the button. Okay, that's in between the slot. Good, I'm going to bump it up a little bit. It's looking wonderful. I'm going to give it just enough of a bump to put tension on the glass. Yeah, the glass just started to move. That's awesome. Now, here's the important part. I need to get this up a little bit higher so that I can tighten that screw down. Also remembering that these are not tight yet, but we're doing good. It's actually going well. So, I'm going to take a pause. Yeah, I think we're okay. What I'm going to do, get the camera out of the way now that you've seen that it's moving. Things are going quite well. I'm very excited. The switch is working. The mirror or the window is going up, or the thing we're doing. Frickin' regulator. The regulator is moving up and down well. Motor works. Switch works, sliders are moving. I've got the sliders and the pincher, basically the window clamp, is in position on both the back one and the front one. I got them around the window, and I got a little bit of tension on the glass right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull off the tape so that I can move the glass if I need to. So I'm going to take the outside tape off here first, and then I'm going to take these off last. These are keeping it from falling down. If I miss something, the glass would just drop, very likely break. I would be sad. It's annoying enough having the window taped up, but I don't want to have to tape a garbage bag if I can help it, because it's about an hour drive to work every day, and that just sucks. Alright. Have I said how much I like this Gorilla Tape? This is wonderful stuff. If you like duct tape, throw your duct tape away and go buy Gorilla Tape, seriously. And anybody at Gorilla Tape, I would be totally willing to be sponsored. Just saying. I'm not currently sponsored at the time of making this video. Gorilla Tape is available at Walmart. I've seen it at Home Depot, where all your better sticky stuff is available. Anybody, military, veterans and whatnot, this is probably comparable to 200-mile-an-hour tape. I don't have any of that left anymore. Can't do a side-by-side. But I think this would be good for, holding your race car or jet fighter together. The only downside, in the sun, it does leave a pretty good sticky residue, but you know what, I'm okay with that. Also, it sticks to your fingers quite nicely. Okay, window is now kind of loose. Pull the inside off. This is the difference between Gorilla Tape and gaff tape. Gaff tape won't leave the residue. This sticks better. So, pick your poison. This has also been on here for a while, so okay, now I can move the window. So what I'm going to do, run the window up until it's in the full up position, gently. That should center it within the slide. Good, okay. Now the window's in its position, its home position, so to speak. And so if I tighten these clamps, it should be where it wants to be. Okay, it's centered itself in the hole, so I guess what I'm trying to say. So at that point, it should be set. Alright? Now again, these are just to pinch the glass and hold it in place. Do not get all stupid on me and crank those down because you'll break the glass. You've done good up until now, don't blow it, right? So again, I'm going to tighten these down by hand first, just to put some tension on it. If I had instructions, they would probably say a torque. No, they probably wouldn't. They might say a torque, just so you don't over torque it. Here's a side note from working on helicopters, military. Not every torque that they tell you is to tell you to get it super tight. A lot of things, for instance, you may have a bolt that's going into an aluminum piece. If you over torque it, you're going to strip it out. So the torque may be something like inch pounds, just so you don't kill it. Also, putting things like motors together, various torques are to help you get things evenly tightened, so you don't warp something. 1, 2, 3. We're done. Let's see if it works. I'm going to come down gently and slowly just so I can see if it's binding. That sticky stuff is going to be a problem. I think I'd like to take that off first. So I'm going to find something to scrape that glue off so I don't drag it all down inside, but it works. Also, while I'm thinking of it. Most of the time I've not been able to use the passenger window at all either, that gives me a lot of confidence now, because I've wondered about that, if there was something wrong with the passenger window, but it's always been the switch didn't work. Yes. Oh hell, this feels good. Okay, I'm going to stop the camera, I'm going to clean up that residue, and then we'll finish it up. Quick thought while I'm on the subject here. If I own any razor blades, I don't know where they are, but I've got one of these utility knives. All right. And this is a regular utility knife blade in essentially a jackknife or a folding blade handle. I always thought I'd like this. I keep it because it's handy, but it's maybe not my favorite knife. I like the idea of it because I can change the blade instead of sharpening the knife. Okay, it just drops right out just like that. And these are very easy to find. You buy them in a 25 pack or a 100 pack or something. So if you get the urge to, like, for instance, cut into your sidewalk, hypothetically, you don't screw up your nice knife. Okay, so I'm going to try that first. I've got some residue remover. Goof Off is the one I have. That will dissolve the glue, but if I can peel some of the glue off first, that's faster. So that's what I'm going to, yeah, that's working out pretty good. Again, you're using a sharp knife, don't slice your neck. You're on your own. If you do it safely, you probably never get it done. Just know where your first aid kit is. You do have a first aid kit, right? If it's worth doing, it's worth bleeding for. get off most of it, then we'll use the residue remover to get the last of it off instead of wasting a bunch of residue. Because what'll happen is you use the goof off, it sort of loosens this stuff up, and then it just goes everywhere. So we're trying to kind of limit our damage here. If I had a better scraping blade, I'd spend more time scraping, but that utility knife, not ideal. So what I did, I sprayed some using Goof Off. It's a citrus type cleaner. There we go. Smells nice. It's kind of, I think it uses like a citrus oil or something like that. It's not, there's also Goo Gone, which is more of a, I think it's naphtha based. Kind of like lighter fluid. Something like that. This is a little safer on plastics. Not maybe as quick, but does a nice job. So what I do is I put some on my paper towel and wipe it a few times, and then I can work it with my fingernail. You can see it's just dissolved. It comes off really pretty nicely. And you go back with the paper towel and pick up some of the goo, and then you just keep turning your paper towel as you go. And you know, the cleaner does a pretty good job of softening, so I'll let it do its work. You know, on something like this, I don't want to spray a bunch on there and have it run down inside the door. Probably wouldn't hurt anything. It's just, you know, rather than spraying a bunch, just put a little bit on your paper towel and work it. And you can see how soft that is, just coming off like boogers. And this is after I scraped it with the knife, so it was fairly hard. It was dried up, you know, from being in the sun and everything. So even though this is only March, this is Texas, so it's, you know, get in the truck in the afternoon, it's like a greenhouse. Nice on a cold day, not so good on a hot day. Okay, that's working out pretty well. This should also come off pretty nicely on the painted surface, because I had some of the tape on the top going up on the painted surface, and I feel pretty good about using the Goof Off on a, like, you know, on your painted car body. Test it if you're concerned. You know, go somewhere where you don't care as much, maybe your neighbor's car or something, and test it there. But now the Goo Gone or professional strength Goof Off, that could take paint off, so definitely be aware of that. Don't just go spraying it on and leaving it and come back, you know, a few days later without primer, probably, because it's actually made for that kind of harshness. Bad. Alright, I can honestly say I spent more time getting the tape residue off the window than I did actually fixing the regulator. Alright, so with that said, let's do the last 1% here and get this door put back on. So, I'm going to get the bottom connector first, just for the light. And that just slips in, I think. Oh, I just figured out why the light doesn't work. There's no bulb in there. Wonderful. Note to future self, let's find a bulb for that later. But just for the sake of completeness, I'll go ahead and connect the wire to the light assembly. Now, I want to make sure I can get this door switch through the hole. May or may not work. Oh yeah, this works. Good. Almost works. Yep, it works good. Note to future self, you are able to test the switches before you put the door together. It's useful. Okay, that's done. This wire is not going to get used. That goes right. There was another. That's what it was. there's another speaker that would mount inside the door panel itself, not to the door. Not going to use that. Eyeball this. The lock actuator, make sure that's okay. The wires are out of the way. Goes in, down. Like so. It's really a nice system. Oh, they got this. Oh, and then the lock I was having trouble with, that just pops off. It's got a spring clipped on there. To figure out where your actuator is, set the unlock. Back is unlocked, okay. You can just pop it on there. That's a lot easier. There we go. Awesome. Okay. Good. Now I've got these two screws. One goes underneath the door handle right in here. That keeps the door from lifting up, and then basically the hooks keep the door panel in place so that it doesn't pull out. And these two screws keep it from lifting up. Now one of the two screws doesn't really matter because this plastic is broken. And that was another one of the hooks. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back together just because. But that's really pretty easy. So later on, I probably will pull the skin off the door one more time. I want to switch out this light for an LED. And I may actually make one of my own design. Because I can. Small adjustment. The spring clips that I was looking at are supposed to attach to the top and snap into the bottom. I was doing that backwards. Easy enough to fix, I think. That's actually pretty common, I find, on this truck. The quick release snaps stick to the wrong half. Can't figure out how to put them back together. This goes in here. I'm not going to waste your time with the close-up detail. You'll never do this anyway. Like so. Now it'll go in. Getting things into the right spot at the right time. There we go. Yeah. Key on. Let's see if my mirrors work. Ah. Mirror works. I'm going to make it a point not to touch the other mirror very much because I think it's glued together. Cool. That makes me happy. Okay, we'll give you a close-up of that. Because otherwise you'd feel like you were just being ripped off. Still dirty. I always thought it was a bad wire, but it was a bad switch. Awesome. Money well spent. Or at least not money wasted. realistically, now that I've worked on both kinds, I almost think power windows are less finicky, ironically, than manual windows. I always thought, you think about it and you're like, oh, you don't want to get manual windows because that's less reliable, but they're actually easier to fix. How's that for weird? Trim snaps in. Oops. Not like that. Probably just broke it. Nope. Okay. Yep, broke it. Pay attention. Put the right edge in first and then the other one snaps in. And this piece was up here. This is another one. This is a good example of this is the same problem as what I had here. These are the metal clips. These snap into these holes. And what I was having here, these metal clips were stuck in the holes instead of on the plastic. They kind of grip with teeth. So this edge goes in first and down into here, and then these snap in to these slots. Right. Done. Sweet. 6 o'clock. Time did we start? I probably got 3 hours into this. The longest time was spent cleaning the glass, not replacing the regulator. And we got an extra bolt. How about that? The extra bolt is because the regulator came with one replacement bolt. You're not supposed to have leftover parts when you're done. It's good to be aware of, though. I always save stuff like that because later on, if you lose a bolt, you might have a spare. Sweet. Very happy, very happy. Oh, this has been an awesome day. Yeah, I was going to be a slacker and not do this today because I wanted to have enough time in case something bad happened. But it was so quiet today, no wind. I'm like, if I put this off, it will be windy tomorrow. And then I'll be mad. So, I'm very glad I did this now. Right, good, done. Now I'm going to clean the windows. That's good Zen therapy. Yeah, I'll get the rest of the stuff off, then I'll take the windows, clean them up. Alright, I guess that was kind of my ending statement. I'm going to muck with this for a little bit longer, but not everybody is mechanically inclined. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's good at something. The trick is finding what you're good at. But my point is, if you watched it to this far, hopefully your takeaway is that some of this stuff is actually not that difficult to do. You may decide it's worth doing. Or, now that you've seen it, maybe you decide, oh my God, no, I don't want to do it. I'd rather pay somebody. Or something to that too, because if you can do your job and you're good at it, and you're making money, maybe go find somebody who's good at something like this, that has the tools, that has done it before, and can get it done on the first try. Instead of you taking time off of work or wasting your weekend doing something like this, maybe you just don't enjoy this kind of work. Do what you enjoy. Let somebody else do this. I kind of like doing this kind of stuff. But, if it's a $40,000 Escalade, yeah, maybe take it to somebody else. If it's an old truck and you're hoping to keep it for a while, if you can afford to do the maintenance yourself, doing a project like this, that means that I saved money that would have gone to labor, which is basically lost to you. Now I got money I can put into maybe I'll go buy some more lights for the front of the truck, or put some money in savings so I can afford to replace the tires when they go bad. Or, you know, go out to eat and not save the money, more likely. Cool. Yeah, this is working well. Maybe wash the rest of the truck. This is going to be very clean up here. Pulling some black off of this trim. Not sure if it's still rubber, so it's not painted. Maybe later I'd get some rubber, whether like Armor All or something like that, because this will probably dry the rubber out to cleaner. Or not. You know, I used to do car detailing a long time ago. Yeah, it seems like forever. Back when I was in high school. I want to get the sticky off because the dust will stick to it later. So. Anyway, that's basically it for that. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something. You know, either you learned how to do it or you learned you'd rather pay somebody else to do it. Either one is fine. Cool. Peace out.